Give me a sec. Dear Lord, please just guide me on how to say this, Lord. You better hope that I say that, because I don't want to mess this up. Lord, I just want to come before you right now. And Lord, I pray that I would just surrender all to you, Lord, and that those watching, Lord, would surrender what you have given them as well to you, Lord. Lord, I surrender this time to you, and that this would be a time of worship to you. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to come together, Lord, with these individuals and to study your word, study our history, Lord, learn from it and apply it, Lord. And thank you just for the opportunity to humble ourselves before you, so that way we may have life and have it abundantly, because that is something only you can promise. Lord, thank you for that opportunity. And in your holy name, amen. All right, guys. Welcome to the American Campfire Revival, night 52. I'm so excited that you're joining me tonight. So for the past few videos and past few nights, we've been talking about how we can make the world a better place. Just 7 simple, easy steps that each and every single one of us can do. Of course, we can't do them on our own. We need to humble ourselves before the Lord. But when we do that, He can guide us and He can show us how to do that and how we can make the world a better place. And through that, by humbling ourselves before the Lord, He can help us to have life and to have it abundantly. Just like it says in John 10. Jesus came so that way we may have life and have it abundantly. And that comes through knowing God as our Father. So, this is what we've covered so far. So far, we've covered reliance on God, our eyes open, and value of gifts. And I'm so thankful that my friend joined me the other night. And I'm so thankful that you guys join me every night. And tonight, we're going to be talking about igniting conversation. I hope you can see that well. But these are just 7 easy steps that we can do within this 100-day plan. These are 7 easy steps that we can do in order to have revival, and just really just some practical ways that we can humble ourselves before the Lord and reconstruct after the civil war that has happened with our flesh and with our spirit. And that's something that I would like to talk about tonight. If you go to Romans 12 with me, if you go to Romans 12, if you go to verse 3, it talks about how God has given each and every single one of us spiritual gifts. And if you go to John 3:16, it says that I'll read it to you in case you haven't heard it. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." And I read these two verses to say two things. One, a key word I want to highlight in John 3:16 is whoever. And in Romans 12, I want to highlight the fact that we were each made unique. We were each made uniquely and created uniquely by God. And this is something and an area that I feel like we need to ignite conversation in. The first idea presented always seems like the best idea presented until another idea is presented. And when going back and forth between all these different ideas, we not only need a guide to know what is right and what is wrong, but we truly need Christ in order to guide us in these conversations and in order to view everyone as he did. He came to die for every single person on this earth. He created every single person on this earth. Yet, we, because we're human, we give me a sec. Dear Lord, please just guide me on how to say this, Lord. You better hope that I say that, because I don't want to mess this up. You were created by God. You were created with a purpose. And he created you within his good and perfect and pleasing will, because he knows and he has a plan for you. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. In order to ignite conversation, it really does go in this poster. We need to have a reliance on God. And once we have that reliance, he will be our guide. And he will open our eyes. And he will show us how to value our gifts and value the things that he's given us. And that can help us to ignite conversation. I don't think we're doing things right. In fact, I'm going to be bold and I'm going to say that I know we aren't doing things right today. We need to have and be igniting conversation, and that conversation needs to be spirit-led. The way I think about it, Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the ways of this world." And that's because the ways of this world, the most popular ways, are usually the wrong ways. And this may bring up a question for you. If the most popular ways of this world are the wrong ways, then why would our founding fathers create a democracy in which the popular vote wins? And I believe there is a simple answer for this. See, they were governed ultimately by God, and God they trusted, and in God we need to put our trust in. we need to have a reliance on, so that way He can open our eyes, He can show us the value of what He has given us, so that way He can show us how to use it and ignite conversations about how we need to use it. We don't need to just sit back and let the world, the flesh, win. We need to be bold and stand up for what is right. And whenever the founding fathers, they were being governed by God, there was a spiritual majority. There was a godly authority that led to a godly majority. And through this, they were able to align the country with what the good and perfect and pleasing will of God is. And that's how we are still here today. But today, we are more aligned with our flesh and what our flesh wants, which fades. And if we continue to go with our flesh that fades, we as a people will fade. We will choke ourselves by our own hand. If we just sit back as Christians and as the church and turn our eye, then we're not being called to do what God has called us to do. Not only has God called us to go in Matthew 22, but He has also called us to look to Him to renew our minds. And by doing this, He helps us to be the leader of our nation, just like the founding fathers were in their day, just like Abraham Lincoln was when he looked to God for His strength and for His wisdom. And he was ultimately governed by God, which allowed him to govern our nation. Yes, we still faced circumstances, but it's through those circumstances that God guides, that we can see His strength, and that we can know Him. We need to be igniting conversation. God gave us the choice to have free will, not for our flesh to come and to try to conform everyone to one way. But the Spirit came, Jesus came, so that way we would not be conformed to the ways of this world. We need to look to God because He created each and every single one of us unique, so that way each of us can know Him. And that ultimately comes through Jesus, who died on the cross and defeated death and overcame the grave, so that way we can know God as the Father. And as the Father, He is going to discipline, He is going to guide with a rod and a staff. But that will keep us on the narrow path. That will keep us from harm's way. Yes, we're human. There still will be problems of the flesh. There will still be the pain of the flesh. I don't know, I may have said this before, but if you've fallen, let's say during basketball or while you're riding your bike, you know that your flesh feels pain. And even through headaches and sicknesses, we know our flesh is weak. But if we are looking to our flesh to be our strength will fade. We need to be igniting conversation. God came so that way we may know Him and walk with Him in the garden, just as Adam and Eve did before the fall. And that does not come through force. If it did, there would have been force. We would be mindless robots. But instead, He gave us the choice of free will, so that way we may actually know Him. Just as Adam and Eve did, and just as we will one day in heaven for all of those who choose to know Him. He is already God, but we are simply acknowledging it. And when we acknowledge it when we ignite conversations, good will come out as a result. Just as it did in the founding of this country, and just as it will if we look to God for guidance and wisdom when we ignite the conversations which we need to do. So, I want to challenge you. Ignite conversation. Because God gave us free will. I said this, I want to say it again. God gave us free will, not for our flesh to cause us to conform. God gave us free will so that the Spirit can help us to be who God created us to be, the best way possible, in a way that is good and pleasing and healthy and the perfect, acceptable will of God. So, the country we're going to be praying for tonight is Bunton. And I'm going to read what it means to follow Christ in Bunton. And I really just want to point out one very interesting thing that keeps occurring a lot while I read through these. Sorry, I messed up my words. This is the designation for Bunton. Restricted. This is what it means to follow Christ. The king identifies himself as the defender of the Buddhist faith, and the government works covertly to discourage the spread of Christianity. Christians are viewed as followers of a foreign Western religion. There is no opportunity for the legal registration of churches in Bhutan. Christians often lose their jobs and are unable to find jobs because of their faith. Many Christians must worship in secret. One thing I want to point out, the sentence, Christians are viewed as followers of a foreign Western religion. I find that interesting because, here, let's go back and double check. Bhutan is near the Himalayas, but that's more closer to Israel and where the Bible took place than we are in America. So why is Christianity known as Western religion? I believe it's because of the way our founders founded this country. We in America, we need to wake up. We need to realize that our founders look to God for their guidance and to ignite their conversations. The rest of the world seems to know it, except for us, because we have taken it for granted. We don't value the gift. We need to look to God to open our eyes so that way He can reignite the conversation, so that way we can once again be the leader for others by having God as our leader. So we're going to pray tonight for Bhutan, and we're just going to pray for the Christians there, and that they would just continue to stand up for what is right, and that sorry, that was a different country. I never finished reading, my bad. There is no opportunity for the legal registration of churches in Bhutan. Christians often lose their jobs and are unavailable to find jobs because of their faith. Many Christians must worship in secret. So it's just hard for them to live. They face circumstances that we take for granted. So we're going to pray for them. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity, Lord, to just come together and to ignite conversation, Lord. I pray that this revival would not only ignite revival in our hearts, Lord, to where we look back to you, Lord, but that it would ignite conversation, Lord. Thank you for this opportunity. I want to pray for the Christians in Bhutan, Lord, and that you would just provide for their needs, and that you would just give strength and wisdom and guidance to the Christians that you have placed there. Lord, thank you for your will, and thank you for leading this nation, Lord. And thank you for allowing us the choice to choose. Lord, I pray that we would choose to look to you to lead this nation. Lord, I pray that as we would go, we would ignite conversation, and that we would be guided by you. And in your holy name, amen. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching American Campfire Revival, Night 52. I'll see you soon.